of being able to approach a fighter and say, throw a fight so I can make some money. I'll throw you some money. Who does that? It's probably the managers who are there for every fight, who are there with a group of fighters, et cetera, who go to the fighter and say, listen, this is what you're going to do. And this is why, because it's good for your career and we're all going to make money, or at least you're going to make, this is the benefits to you and why you should do it. Somebody has to explain that to the fighters, right? Now, a guy that owes money and, has a kid on the way and has a mortgage to pay and is making 10 and 10, okay, it's pretty easy to see why he would maybe look, uh, be open to this. But again, who's going to explain? In the way this works, the guy who's at the betting window making a bet on the fight is not the guy explaining to the fighter why he needs to go ahead and take a dive in the fight. There's somebody who's got to explain that to him. And I think it's these management groups that are now kind of exclusive UFC management groups. You can't get into the UFC unless you belong to Iridium or some of these other companies that are out there now. Any other management was absolutely crushed, and we may or may not have mentioned Monty Cox yet, but Monty was the original manager that had a little bit of power and had a stable of strong fighters. The UFC didn't like the kind of power he had, so they did everything they could to chop his legs out and to chop the legs out from under anybody else who had that pseudo manager ability, that role, not deal with them. And then they set up these management companies. And now these management companies are the ones that bring to the fighter. And my experience with Iridium, I live in Costa Rica, I live in Central America, and there are probably the fight game is a decade or more behind the level of what it is in the States, right? But if you look at the example of boxing, you know, Mexico's not the only place with boxers. Nicaragua's got superior boxers. Argentina's got superior boxers. There are boxers in Colombia. There are boxers in Venezuela that have impacted on the world level. There have been boxers, so the Latinos can fight. So I was approached by ONE FC about trying to contact a few of the Latino fighters that were on the up and up. Now, ONE FC is kind of almost too strict with what they request. They want guys with perfect records, local titles, and